And speaking of exploring alternative sound options on the set, alternative meaning not guys from the 90s in plaid shirts, but unconventional sound options for the set. The snare drum deserves its own talk, its own lecture or video or class. You've probably heard this kind of rim click during all of the country pop music that gets played on Floribama radio at the distillery. There are a lot of options on the snare drum that you have a lot of control over how much texture, what kind of sounds you get. So you can muffle the drum with your hand, you can play one stick on the rim or softly on the muffled head. And you can control how high or low the rim click sound is by moving the rim click stick farther away from the center of the head or closer. You can control how far past the rim the stick is going. You should find a sweet spot, something like that, to where there's, let's say, about, 4 or 5 inches past the drum head. And so I'm resting my palm a little below the center of the snare drum toward me. And you can keep your fingers on the drum or not. They're probably going to naturally come to rest on it. And you can quietly pat the snare drum with those fingers while the palm is resting. I think it's going to be a little easier to do this. Use the free hand to quietly tap the snare drum. But you can play a beat that way. Also, let's note that a rim click is not the same as a rim shot. They are not the same thing. Rim shot's going to be a lot easier if you have the drum at a specific angle, a little flatter than this, because you're actually hitting the rim and the head at the same time. It's not easy to do consistently, but so a rim click is something you're going to hear in the quieter verses and not the choruses on songs, especially in country music. You know, you'll hear especially in verses on country music. So this is a rim click. And actually you see that I'm shortening the amount of the stick that goes out past the drum head to get that higher pitched, more muffled sound. More of a higher pitched snap, or a little deeper. But for a rim shot, which is something you'll hear in funk music like James Brown or the Meters, for example, it's, and yeah, that is going to beat up your sticks, and it's probably going to throw the drum out of tune as well. It's going to detune these lugs right here, so you'll have to keep an eye on that. But you know, which contrast this with same amount of arm and wrist effort dynamics wise. just something to be aware of, that those are things that some people will do. And then you also probably heard at the beginning of Bossa Nova USA, well, and the other thing you can do here that you'll hear some drummers do is you can take the lever that releases the snare wires and just drop that. If you're going to solo on the toms or quiet things down for a minute, you can take the volume down by playing on rims, and the dynamic change will get people's attention. But you can also, dropping the snares, releasing the snare wires, gives you a cleaner sound on all the drums. And if you're going to solo a lot on toms, just give you a different texture, different tone. But I think you'll probably hear at the beginning of Bossa Nova USA that Joe Morello is controlling how much his hand muffles the drum, and also controlling how much the drum rings by way of not just the palm muting from the hand that's on the drum, but also how close to the center of the drum head or far away toward the rim he is. So more palm muting from the hand on the head and or stick toward the center of the drum is going to give you less ring. And then less muffling and closer to the rim is going to ring more. So I think you can hear a little bit that on the accented notes of the Bossa Nova pattern, in other words, some of those he'll let them ring a little more.